Hey there, welcome back. This is Professor Hank, and in this video we continue our discussion on lists in Python. Specifically, we're going to take a look at the in operator and how it can be used to determine if a piece of data exists in some list. And we're going to be able to do this because the in operator, when having a list as an operand, is going to evaluate or return true or false. So we will use this evaluation in a test expression, and that'll allow us to determine if something is in fact in a list or not. Okay, so let's take a look at an example. Using the in operator, we're going to have a syntax that looks something like this right here. Okay, and so what this is we've got the in operator, and it's going to have two operands, A and B. And A, in this case, is going to be that thing that we are looking for in the list, and B is going to be our list. Okay, so this works really easy. It's really simple how this thing works. So let me create a list for you here, and we'll just make it integers to keep it simple, but this is going to work for any data type. Okay, so my list is, well, let's call it B, right? Because that's what I have in my syntax up there. So let's say that I got some list in B, and I want to determine if 6 is in the list. Okay, so then what I can do is I can say, well, A and B, right? And so this is going to evaluate either true or false. This will be either true or false, right? So if it's true, then the thing's in the list, false otherwise. So I can use that as part of an if statement, right? In which case I print out, yeah, it is in the list, right? Or I could have an else here. I could say print, no, it is not in the list. Right, so let me go ahead and run that for you. Right, and so our result, yeah, it's in the list, right? Because A, which contains 6, is in the list. Now, what would it look like if what I was looking for was not in the list, right? Well, then 12 is not in the list, so this is going to return false, right? So no, it's not in the list. Okay, so it really is that simple. Okay, now let me throw a wrinkle at you here, right? So this first example, right? The first example asks the question, is it the case that A exists in B, right? But I can flip that question on its head, and I can say, another way I can put it is something like this, right? Is it the case that A does not exist in B, right? So that's a different question. So in the second question, I'm saying, well, is A not in B? Right? And if that's the case, then I can structure my question like this. I can say, well, A not in B. So I can combine the not and the in operators together to come at the question from a different angle, right? So if A is not in B, then this test expression is going to evaluate the true, and I can print an appropriate message, otherwise evaluate false. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, in right here is going to evaluate either true or false, right? So let's say that A is not in B, right? If it's not, then in right here is going to evaluate to false, which would normally kick you down to this else down here, this else clause, right? But if I put a not in here, then the not flips the truth value of in, what it evaluated to. So that false will become true as a result of applying not to it. So then that means that the first block here is what's going to execute. So I can put inside of here print it is the case that A is not in B, right? Otherwise, I'll say it is the case that A is in B, right? So asking pretty much the same question, is A and B? I'm just asking it from two different angles, right? So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so this guy right here is the result of my first example, right? Was A and B? No, 12 is not in this list, right? So this evaluates to false. We kick down to the else. No, it's not in the list. So that's what we see. Okay, now in the second example, if A not in B, right, well, we see this result right here. Well, why are we seeing that? Well, in right here is still going to return false because 12 is not in B, but the not modifies that false and changes it to true. So then this statement for the first block executes. It is the case that A is not in B. Okay, so let's summarize what we covered in this video. Right, in this video I showed you how to use the in operator to determine if something exists in a list or not. Showed you the syntax for it, gave you examples, and this is going to work because in evaluates to true or false based off of whether or not the value being tested is in the list, and we can use this result inside of test expressions. In addition, I showed you that we can use in and not together to flip the question on its head, right? So if we say A and B, then we're asking the question, is it the case that item A exists inside of list B? But if we combine in and not together, then we are asking the question, well, is it the case that A is not in list B? Okay, so that's going to bring this video to a close. If you felt that the video was useful, please consider giving the video a thumbs up. And if you thought that the video sucked, well, then you've got that thumbs down button as an option as well. If you'd like to see more videos, if you're interested in more content from the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And as usual, if you're a student of mine and you have further questions, feel free to drop me an email or to stop by my office hours. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.